I love chicken wings and all things chicken. If I had to choose one food to eat, if I was stuck in a jungle, it would probably be chicken wings. One day I woke up with a normal teenage craving, and this craving could only be fulfilled with some nice, tender, spicy wings. Suddenly, I was in my kitchen where all the bowls are. I grabbed one, and I cleaned and washed my chicken, as always, and I opened the cabinet, and there were so many spices, like paprika, sazon, chili powder, adobo, turmeric, garlic powder, onion powder, and yeah, there are a lot of powders. And then I used sauces like barbecue sauce, buffalo sauce, and hot sauce, and I used a lot of different sauces too. After everything I added was mixed, I could smell the marination. It was so spicy and flavorful, my mouth started watering, and even my nose. After all the powders and sauces, I set the wings to marinate in the oven. This was my ultimate wings story and recipe. The wings making story is my beginning to the journey of maturing and learning a new concept of growth mindset. My quarantine schedule has been awesome, so I've been starting to cook the most amazing dishes at 2 a.m. My wings were done marinating and I was really hungry, so I first placed the wings in the oil to fry them. After that, I mixed the barbecue sauce with the hot sauce and drizzled them over the wings. I added some parsley on top, and after the wings were finished, I invited my family to enjoy these wings. I was so excited I didn't even try them at first. My mom took one bite of the wings and went to drink some water. She told me she didn't like them and they didn't taste good. My immediate reaction was anger. I was so angry. I put so much effort into creating these, and I said to myself, she's wrong. I did these right. Her taste buds are messed up and she doesn't really like anything. So I ran to my room and I started to cry. After I cooled down and realized I hadn't actually tried the wings, I went back to the kitchen. I took one bite into the wings and I felt all the powders literally stain my teeth. It was horrible. My mom came to the kitchen and started laughing. We were both laughing because the wings were actually really bad. My mom sat down with me and she told me the same thing happened to her many times before she perfected her wings recipe. She helped me realize that not everything is perfect, and I looked up some recipes which I probably should have done in the beginning. Typically, the first human instinct after making a mistake is to be angry and blame others or something else. My anger began with me crying and slamming doors. After I realized that all that crying and door slamming is not good for myself or the door. Instead, I took a lesson from my anger and I used my failure to help me grow and learn new lessons from mistakes. To create a growth mindset, you have to stop asking yourself, how or why did this happen to me? Instead, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I make this better in the future? How can I prevent others from making the same mistake? Learning from failure is a part of growth mindset. Growth mindset means to believe your intelligence can be developed through experiences. My failure to create good wings was a perfect lesson for me to embrace and persist in the face of setbacks. Accepting what you did wrong and being open about it. So next time you create a disastrous dish or fail a test, let others know. You could say something like, I didn't do this correctly. Do you have any advice or tips on how to do better next time? In my case, I asked my personal professional chefs, otherwise known as my grandma, mom, and Auntie Fatima, because they have experience overcoming their own mistakes. To improve my recipe, I created the Ultimate Wings 2.0. This is a recipe I made sure to write down. The first thing I did was clean up my chicken, and I placed it in the bowl, and I used more spices like garlic powder, oregano, Goya sazon, and tandoori spices. Now, I based the amount of spices I put on the amount of wings I had. In this case, I made about 15 wings, so I used about 2 tablespoons of each spice. This was a measurement I hadn't done in my previous recipe. I took out almost all the sauces, such as buffalo and barbecue, because these sauces tend to overwhelm and they're not the right proportion, and they weren't correctly proportioned. I used one, and I only used hot sauce because my mom suggested it would complement the spices better, because it's spicy and not tangy like barbecue or buffalo sauce. Here, the lesson I learned from making the wings a second time is that the spices are not meant to be drenched in food, and spices and sauces are meant to be measured based on the quantity and content of the food. So the right taste for some wings is a good amount of salt and a spicy hot sauce to give it a kick. There is wisdom in family, and I learned that knowledge runs deep through family brains. And if you ask, you could get that generational knowledge. It sounds pretty boring, but once you realize that the power of family can help you create ultimate dishes and give you new perspectives for daily activities, you could set your mind to do anything. My family taught me to accept challenges and look towards the future. When something bad happens, sit down and tell yourself that maybe this was meant for you in order for you to learn and grow from this challenge. This is how you enact a growth mindset. I want to grow and learn to change and make an impact on the world. I believe that with COVID 19, although it's an unfortunately horrible time, it has its positive aspects. The positive aspects of this time give us a unique opportunity to grow. Today's world will only be challenging if we don't learn to grow. Our ignorance and acceptance to change will hinder our growth for the rest of the world. We won't be able to impact the world positively if we don't start building growth mindsets today. Current issues like immigration, disease outbreaks, race and ethnic inequality, these issues can only be solved if we learn from past mistakes and think about how these issues will impact the future. So as the youth of today, let's start by creating some disastrous dishes, fail a test. Let's learn from our daily actions and build on to saving the world. Having a growth mindset is the greatest advantage today's youth will have. Start by making a dish for your family, catching their opinions on it. Write down the tips and advice they give you, and my best advice is to search some recipes. Today's tip to grow is to research and ask others before creating your ultimate dish. Nothing is ever perfect the first time.